I got another book here. This one is called The Practice of Groundedness, a transformative path to success that feeds, not crushes your soul, by Brad Stulberg.
Okay.
So it's all about groundedness, you know. What are some of the things you do to ground yourself?
Man,
You know, stay grounded in nature, reality. Well, whenever you're dealing with problems, you know, you're looking for to be centered overall.
one of the biggest things is like I sit down and meditate, or just sit down and quiet. You know what I mean? Close my eyes, or just eyes up, or whatever. Take a moment where I'm not thinking about what I gotta do next, or thinking about what's going on in the world, not looking at my phone and trying to check no notifications or checking YouTube or something. It's like I just spend time, you know what I mean, and detach. Yeah. And sometimes I do like nature walks, you know, man, those type of things, like you'll feel so grounded just because you have to connect with the world. You know, you get the chance to see, you know, the grass and like growing and shit. It's like it's real life. So it's like I take nature walks and go out. In the city, it's not that many places, but you can definitely come out to like places like Taylor, where we, you know, Inkster, all these other places, or up in Saginaw, like where I was born and raised. You know, there's places where you can really connect, you know, just by doing those walks. So shout out to that.
That's what I be doing. I just made a video. I was out in the woods and stuff because that's really, it grounds me out of nature. That's why this backdrop look like this, you know, with the plants and the grass and the leaves and all of that. It's like as soon as I walk into a space that I put my energy into, or if I go out in the world and I just ground with nature and connect, it keeps me centered overall.
Yeah.
It's like you said, meditation. It's all about being in stillness.
Yeah.
Not always having your mind so occupied and overflowed with stuff. You got to sometimes. It's a word. It's called inertia.
Yeah.
You got to be in inertia sometimes because it allows you to be present, and you can really get in tune with the environment. It might just be the wind blowing or the birds chirping or something. For me, that gives me a calmness, you know.
And I do a lot of writing too, like just my stream of consciousness. I got a notebook where I just write whatever come to mind. I don't think about it. I don't try to make it make sense or nothing. I just like write, just stream and write like all the things that come out, just so I have opportunity to put it out. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't go back to read some of this stuff for a year or for months and stuff. You know, it's just so I can have the opportunity to connect and ground myself, you know, with it myself.
And you know what happened when you write it and then you go back to see it later on, like you said, months to a year, you end up seeing how your mind grew or how you elevated over that time. If you go back and you be like, dang, this where my mind was at.
Yeah.
This how I was thinking. Or you wrote something that it might not even made sense to you, or you might not have really fully could break it down in that moment because you had to go through certain periods of time for the wisdom to kick in and what you know, where you was at presently.
Man.
You come back and reflect like, oh yeah.
Wow.
It's like a dream. It's like some of them prophetic dreams or some of them revelations and stuff that you get from God.
Yeah.
And you know, it'll come to you. It might not make sense in the moment. Or it's even like when you read certain scriptures and things like that, and some stuff you might not understand in the moment. But then some time go by, or you get in a situation or an experience in real life that make it click for you, like, okay.
Man, and that's a very powerful situation to be in. Like if we wrote something or you put something out or you read something and you had no connection with it in that moment, and then time later, like all of a sudden you just like overwhelmed with this understanding, you know, this enlightenment. That's a very powerful situation to be in. And it lets you really understand how, you know, how divine the presence around us is. You know what I mean? Just our experience, just our existence is divine.
Wisdom is poured into everything, you know. Wisdom is poured into everything. And it's like it always go back to where you put your mindset or what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
So I got a book right here. It's called Thoughts Matter. This one right here is the practice of the spiritual life. So, you know, the other book was the practice of groundedness. This right here is the thoughts. So that one is about, you know, kind of clearing your thoughts or being able for your thoughts to come and flow through clearly. This one right here is understanding those thoughts and why you have them, because we all have different thoughts. And not only that, every thought we have is not ours.
Yeah.
You know, you got thoughts of the enemy, intrusive thoughts. You got thoughts that come in and linger about, get into your ear gates, and then next thing you know, you might be reacting on it. and all of that. Like,
intrusive thoughts is a real thing, man. And you can see it, it ain't even like a conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? Like you will take these.
You see how you say conspiracy?
Uh-huh.
I always tell people when you say conspiracy, they just ask you a question.
What you mean?
Just ask me a question.
What? Why you
conspiracy?
Oh,
because if your spirit can see, then you know it ain't no conspiracy.
That's lit. That's lit. I ain't even catch it till you broke it down. Yeah. But it's not even fake news, bro. You will take an allergy medicine or whatever the heck you taking, and then a month later or whatever, right on the commercial, it'd be like side effects be suicidal thoughts and depression and stuff. Like a suicidal thought is an intrusive thought. If you take anything and then inside your mind you start having thoughts about killing yourself or about anything like that, like that's an intrusive thought. You know what I mean? So these things are very real. You know what I mean? So we have to understand how real it is. Don't think, oh well, it's fake news or that. There's nothing to it.
Right.
That's real. It's real.
If your spirit can see, because at the end of the day, it is a spiritual thing that you have to look at it.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with, like you say, a certain prescription, and it gives you those thoughts. So you got to look at it from a spiritual side, because you're dealing with medication or you're dealing with Pharmakeia. This is a form of sorcery.
Yeah.
So it's sorcery being performed on us through medications within those industries and stuff like that. So when you have these thoughts, you're dealing with depression and all of that. That is a door. That means a certain doorway has been opened in our mind through that drug that we took.
Absolutely. That's very true.
So we got to be mindful from that. It's not just a physical thing that's happening. Yeah. I believe it's more of a spiritual thing than anything.
Yeah. I agree.
And they have been using all of those drugs and stuff like that to keep everybody in a certain hut, keep them in a certain mindset, to put low vibrational aspects on them, whether it's depression, it's shame, it's anxiety, all these different aspects for real.
And sometimes they just don't care, man. They just want you to fit into where they need you to fit in for their system.
It's a project.
Yeah.
And we the lab rats. Yeah. We the lab rats of the day for real.
Yeah.
But we gonna overcome all of that.
Definitely gonna overcome. Definitely.
It start with those thoughts. Them thoughts. Them thoughts matter. Start to push out the negative ones and bring more. It's optimism versus pessimism. We gotta operate and move in that optimistic energy.
That's real.
You feel me?
Yeah.
All right, so seeing that, I'm from Detroit. I grew up in Southwest Detroit and had all types of experiences overall. But I done lived in different places too, and I feel like I met people from different walks, different beliefs, different areas. I did a lot of traveling in my young days in life,
Right.
So give us a little detail about where you from, Saginaw, Michigan, things we may not know in your experience growing up out there.
Man, Saginaw is it's like a smaller city, especially when you consider places like Detroit. But when you think about other cities like Flanders, Ypsilanti, all that stuff, it's definitely a city that's bigger than those type of cities. And it's a lot of different type of people there. People who try to make it seem like it's just extra hood or whatever, and it's really white people there, there's Mexican people there. We got our, Mexico or Southwest type of situation out there. It's like all those type of communities out there. So Saginaw is very, let's say, diverse. It is a lot of like gang, when I was growing up, a lot of that stuff has changed now, and I'm glad for it, or it's changing, because it's still the same in some situations. But I grew up with a lot of real gang violence, gang banging where people really rep this hood, rep that hood, you know what I'm saying? And really, like they really come and kill people. And I got a lot of friends who not living anymore, Most of the people I grew up with, most of the friends that I had when I was growing up are no longer here with me, you know what I mean? Which is sometimes not hard to deal with, but definitely a hard thing to grasp, when you come and you have conversations with people who have never had that experience, or never, they just don't have a perspective where they can connect and relate to you sometimes. And it's hard sometimes where you have to have certain conversations with people and help people understand. Like these things is real. Like people are really losing their lives and losing their sons and daughters, because it ain't just the boys either. Like people are really, they moms and dads, what I'm saying, really lost, just because where you live or what hood you rep. And Sometimes it don't be for nothing, just to be cool or just so you can be somebody or have respect. Some people don't. You grow up in an environment where you don't have like respect as a human being unless you can take it from somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's like we got to first understand that like like respect is one of the things that we want or have. Like love and respect are two things that we love and appreciate as human beings more than anything. Back in the day when they was doing all those colonization and all the people like Napoleon and all these people that was going around and doing the stuff that they was doing all that stuff based on respect. Like they whatever. So it's like now when you trickle down to like situations like what we were going through or that I was growing up through, it was like you will go and run down on somebody or shoot up somebody's house or somebody party or somebody with a basketball game, whatever, all because you want people to say your name and say that, have respect for you. You know what I mean? And it really was for nothing because a lot of them people didn't make it. Or they get older and then they realize how much it was like how they trying to find a job now. They trying to figure out how they gonna take care of their kids now. They've grown and evolved as human beings, but now they got to deal with the psyche of all the stuff that they did in the past. You know what I mean? Which is
That's why I'm glad. That's why I'm glad you being a father out here take care of your kids, stuff like that. I know you don't have a son, but it's a lot of the crash out culture going on just for the fact
yeah,
that it's the home training, it's the upbringing of the men, not really having men or father figures around them either, or they only having bad examples for real. And I
yeah,
think that's the reason why a lot of the people that's like street gangs or just all in the hood active, they don't have no respect for the OGs or nobody older than them either because
right.
ain't nobody really setting the standard on how a man should be. A man's man is a rarity these days.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, absolutely. And the women, what I mean, they
Oh
go through
yeah.
it too. You know what I mean? So we got to understand that I can't even think of the word right now. If I could think of it, that sentence would have been way more smoothly. But like respect should be something that's automatically naturally offered. You know what I mean, within a conversation, or if I had to sit down and see you eye to eye, then I have to have respect for you as a person, as a human. You know what I mean? Because I have a certain level of respect for myself. When I'm in a situation where I know that like the black and white thing. They just said the man or the system or whatever has made it a situation where now you already don't have no respect for me just by seeing me and meeting me. Or you travel to this country from somewhere else and you see me, it's like you
Preconceived
automatically don't
notion.
have no respect for me. And then at that point, especially in these silos of communities and people and situations. Now you got people who fighting and struggling and striving just to have respect, and they feel like they don't have no other type of way to get it besides killing or robbing or shooting or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's the only tool they got to do that. You know what I mean? And it's not true, but we have to understand that we got to be able to show and give respect to people. You know what I mean? Respect shouldn't be earned, all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't got to elevate somebody and be like, oh, you this or whatever, but you should be able to have respect for a person. You shouldn't be meeting a person and be like, oh, I don't got no respect for you because I just met you. Like,
Yeah. And we as a people, we got to stop selling our respect too.
yeah.
We got to stop giving our respect away. You
Mm-hmm.
got you got social media. You got like all the women that be out here that
Yeah.
little Kim energy.
All that. Yeah.
Operating in that Delilah, that Jezebel spirit, operate through them, exposing, putting their bodies out the whole OnlyFans community. It's like you're gonna put $1 on your respect, you're gonna put $1 on your soul, you're gonna put $1 on your mind. Like,
Yeah.
when does it come to a point that money is not gonna ever be enough to look at your own values,
Yeah.
your own core values? Like, how can you exchange that?
Yeah. And
You do anything for money?
and when you get all the money, then a lot of people with the bank, they realize that. Like, oh, I didn't make so much money. Now they come to people like us and be like, but I want the respect. I want to have respect. I want to be able to connect or whatever with people. You know what I mean? And you realize that all that stuff ain't what it's cracked up to be. You know what I mean? It's like you selling your respect, but you selling it for a cheap price. Like what you getting in return ain't even worth nothing for real.
Yeah. So it's only right, man. We got to start respecting ourselves more as a people, as a culture, as a nation.
Yep.
We got to put our respect before a dollar bill.
Yep.
We got to definitely put our respect before some clout.
Yep.
There's a difference between clout and respect.
Yes.
That's like,
That's right.
you know, that's like that whole, just the whole mainstream media, entertainment industry and all of that. They do everything for clout. It's like, and that clout, of course, attracting the money is attracting the views and the fans. But it's like at the end of the day, that ain't doing nothing but programming them too. You
Yep.
know, because they looking up to them. They looking at them as like they idols and all of that.
Mhm.
But it's like ain't no respecting that because once they get off them cameras and once they go back home to their families and all of that, they on a whole different type of time.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
they promoting and pushing things for us to consume, but then they go home and they go live a different lifestyle overall.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and it's somebody at the top of that food chain that's selling like they the drug. You know what I'm saying? Y'all the drug. So we're gonna use you to get what we need out of the consumer, out of the person. You know what I'm saying?
thanks. So seeing that you know, you in the brotherhood and stuff, it's Greek, right? Greek fraternity.
Yeah.
You know, any history about like Greeks in general, not even just fraternity, but like Greeks dealing with the land itself, the history of the things that occurred in society, and also the mythos too, like the myths and legends as well.
To an extent, you know, to be honest, I did a lot of study into like Greek mythology and like how it ties to like it's very it ties to like African culture. It ties to a lot of different cultures, and people don't even understand because they didn't stole. So like not stole, but they definitely went
Changed the
and
name.
took a lot of things from a lot of different places.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I would say yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because okay, so based on like Greek, why do you feel as though they would have made a Greek fraternity? Like that's the basis of it, right? It's based on Greek. Is it Greek as in we're using the symbols and stuff, or is it Greek like where it's actually was formatted?
I think it's really like the symbols and stuff, you know.
Okay.
And I think just because the white fraternities and stuff they existed first, you know, and black people just seen that platform, that foundation, and started building on top of it.
You say they existed first?
Yeah, a lot of them exist as far as like the fraternities as we know, like the oldest.
So you're speaking the college fraternities?
Yeah, that type of stuff. You know, the oldest black fraternity is like, you know, within the the Divine Nine or whatever.
Right.
Is 1906, right? That's the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But you got some Greek organizations that's like on campus at Eastern that's been there, you know, since the 1800s.
Okay.
You know?
So do anybody that's like in Greek fraternities, do any of them transition to like Masonry or Eastern Stars and stuff like that?
There's a lot of them for sure. I've never considered it just because I never had the genuine connection to it personally, but it's a lot of people who have definitely done that.
I've been looking at them. I've been studying a lot, dealing with like the fraternities, the brotherhoods, but also the gangs and stuff. I see a lot of the symbols are often being reused and stuff like that. Do you think there's any connections in between that? Yeah, for example, like I grew up in Detroit. Like I said, I grew up in Southwest. We got counts and folks. You got BDs and GDs. You know, everybody that use 5-point stars, 6-point stars, and stuff like that. And then it's like I see the symbology, and it's in so many different things. Whether you're talking about the entertainment industry, you're talking about religions, you're talking about brotherhoods and fraternities. It's like I'm really just paying attention to symbols because I feel like language is, you know, at this point, it's all about the symbols. That's how they communicate.
I think yeah, but I think the biggest thing is like people just want, like we said, that respect or they wanted prestige, so they took something that they seen was prestigious or had history or whatever because they didn't have no knowledge of any other type of history that existed before that. Even though there's tons of things that do, you know, they took that history or that idea and they said, "Oh, we on this level of prestige, you know, as these people. So we gonna take this stuff and use it, you know, for us type of situation."
Right. So you took a lot of things that you pretty much learned and experienced from being in that circle in that organization, and that's what you've been applying toward today
Yeah,
out in
but
society.
no, like the colonization of things. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Like think about like like how the British or whatever colonialism and how they used to dress. You know, and then think about how like
Right.
you got all these great African warriors, great African, people, but when you see them, they be
Hannibal.
dressed in a colonial joint.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the idea of like that's prestige to
Okay.
me, and I see myself on that level. So
Mm.
I'm gonna rock that, or I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna be in that shine in that.
Man, that's such a rewrite. That's such a
Yeah,
programming, though. You feel me? If you look deep at it, it's
yeah,
like, why do we feel the need to have to do what they do when we know the flip around was they took drained us of our sources and
yep,
kind of shaped us on how it is that we should be.
yeah,
It's crazy how it is like that. Just like I feel like when a lot of people started to come into consciousness and a reflection of higher self, they often run back to like Egypt. You
mm,
know, I'm not sure if it's because of the statues, the idols, the gold, the royalty, the fact that they were such on a higher plateau. But it's like what's really calling you back
right,
as people, and especially if you don't even know if you got ties to that place.
right,
Because like I say, we are a scattered people. You
yeah,
know, we are the same scattered people. I believe of Deuteronomy 28 that spoke of that were scattered around in different lands, went through Africa, went through the Caribbean. Some came on boats. It was also still people that was in America, like how they try to make it seem like it wasn't no African American people in America
yeah,
until the transatlantic slave trade.
right,
You even had those like Mansa Musa was going around, very royal, very rich and wealthy.
yep.
So
And that's
history is
people don't
always
know their
lying.
history, man. It's like people literally like made it seem like history started, 400-500 years ago. Like it was nothing that existed before that. You know what I mean? And we all know that's not true. You know, even when you think about the Egyptian stuff, we say, okay, 2-3 thousand years ago, however many
Right.
thousand years ago, it's like
Babylon.
some of the stuff they can't even put dates on it. Like you don't even understand how old this stuff is. It's just us like
Trying to rationalize from a human mundane understanding.
yeah, so it's like we just don't understand stuff, and when we don't understand stuff, we just try to fill in the gaps with what we know.
That remind me of like you saw we was talking about Greek myth. It's
Mm,
like you got Zeus, Poseidon, and all of that. I
mm,
always give this analogy. It's like say Superman was flying through the sky, right?
mm,
And he flew through all the nations. Each nation would give him a different name and a portrayal based on how they perceive him and how he will fit into their culture.
right,
So I feel like that's how we often see all these different
that's very true.
myths and gods, and I feel like a lot of them probably is the same individual but under different names too.
Yeah,
So it's not as many as you would think exist.
I agree. I agree with that.
So I got a book that talks about, this is more on higher dimensional. It's on the ET Chronicles. So, it's what myths and legends tell us about human origins. It's dealing with higher dimensional things,
Mhm.
higher frequency things, not just, the humans on this level, but the beings that were here in the world already,
Yeah,
those that exist in higher planes and stuff like that.
yeah,
It just expands your awareness on because we in this world and we're not alone. You
right.
know, Whether they telling you, the 9 planets, space up there, the firmament, it just gives you some more in depth about everything else that's in the world.
Yeah, and we gotta understand that, bro. There's like frequencies of stuff that we can't even tap into. You know what I mean? Like there's like think about like the X-ray vision and all that stuff like these that we have created tools to be able to see or tap into or sound waves and levels that we can tap into, but certain animals, especially when you think about like under the ocean and stuff, who they have
Sonar.
communication and stuff that we can't even tap into. You know what I'm saying? So if we think that the spectrum is just what we know and then what we think we know, then we're more foolish than what I'm saying than what we think we are. We got to know that it's way broader than that. It's way more stuff that exists in this world that we don't even know. We can't even tap into. There's so much stuff going on all around us. that we have no clue. You know what I mean? All the time.
That's the beauty of the journey, though. You know,
Yeah.
just know that you're not gonna know it all, and you was a fool if you think you know it all.
Yeah.
But enjoy the journey, as in, you know, raising up your consciousness, expanding, and taking in information on a day-to-day basis. You know, study to show yourself approved. You got to continue to grow.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about overall. Getting the information, but getting the right information, and also information that you can apply, because when you can apply it, it becomes wisdom, you know.
Yeah.
It becomes something that you can also help others with too.
I say that's true.
So yeah, man, we're gonna sum it up for real.
That's good.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming through, man. My name is SoFarSoRay. You feel me? I got Squeeze in the building.
Yes, bro. Well, let me say first that I appreciate the whole platform and all the content that you're creating. I think it's very needed. It's very genuine and authentic. And then also it's giving. You know what I mean? Like you giving to the world, you just gave to me, but then also you receiving in that. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it.
Because I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch
Honestly,
it, and I'm gonna watch
yeah.
it, and I'm gonna watch it. I appreciate you coming out. You feel me? Because it's like I said, the questions I asked, it's also for more understanding, because we come from different backgrounds too.
Mm.
I come from a different hometown. You feel me? As far as our actual life's arrangements, we just individuals coming from different places. So
Yeah.
I feel like everybody can learn, because there's somebody out there that can relate to what I got going on,
Yeah.
what you got going on, or rather they don't have no relation at all, but they want to receive.
Yeah.
You know. So that's what it's all about. This platform is all about spreading awareness, consciousness, health, family, spirituality, even if it's religion, you know, it's all about understanding the benefits that's within it, not the ulterior motives and the agendas that's being used and pushed on society overall.
Yeah.
It's all about operating out of that frequency of love, frequency of action. We want to make sure we're doing what we're saying we're going to do. Otherwise, we ain't talking at all. We just moving in action.
Yeah.
So this is an example of action right here. So I'm going to continue to show up, and gratitude to anybody else that shows up with us along the way.
I love it. Shout out.
Yeah.